Alright, we're out here with the Ruger LCP Max with a Viridian TL, which stands for tack light, and I want to see if I can do a quick draw, but first I gotta start some beef. Hey, what'd you say about my mama? Oh yeah? Well, every time your mom goes camping, the bears gotta hide their food. What? Oh, hell no. Let me put my ears on. I screwed up that joke in the beginning. It's supposed to start with, your mama's so fat, when she goes camping, the bears gotta hide their food. Anyways, for any carry gun, I'm a firm believer in having a light on that firearm because you always want to be able to see what you're shooting at. But the smaller the gun, the less options there are for lights, especially when there isn't a rail to attach anything to it. So when I decided to carry the Ruger LCP Max, I went light shopping and was pretty discouraged to find that you pretty much only have two options. I feel like the LCP market is pretty lousy considering how popular the gun is. The really only is the Viridian, which is this one right here, and the Crimson Trace. But one huge advantage to the Viridian Reactor TL is that it comes with its own very high quality holster. This I just put on, this is some, Velcro right here, the soft side of the Velcro, just to give it a little bit of a wedge so that it fits in my waist a little more straight. And the cool feature about this holster is that you turn the light on and it has a actuating feature. So right now the light's off, but the moment you pull it out, it turns right on. This little green light, if you guys can see, stays on for a second, but then it goes off. The green just means that you have good battery, and I think it turns orange when your battery is going bad. Now pulling the gun in and out of the holster, it's bringing me just to my first con. There's only a couple of cons that I have for this light, but I don't know if y'all can hear it. Let me try and put it to the microphone. Hang on one sec. Do you hear that? It's this really weird high-pitched sound whenever the light is on. So not sure if you can hear that, but it's giving me a headache, so I'm going to turn it off. But first, of course, I'll just show you the features. When the light's on, you press the button one more time, and it brings up a strobe. Then press it again to turn it off. Pretty simple features. But back to the holster for a sec. This holster alone would probably be like 30-40 bucks, which brings the actual cost of the light from about 100 bucks down to 60 or 70. That's a really good value, and you don't have to spend more money on trying out different holsters till you find one that you like, which are already pretty limited when you add a light to your carry gun. But not with this Viridian Reactor TL, which, by the way, in the shooting footage I kept referring to it as the Viridian TL when it's the Reactor TL made by Viridian. But anyways, shooting some gecko right here. This some gecko 9mm, right? No, for those of you that know better, this is a 380. It actually says it right underneath 9mm, so I wasn't really gonna fool you guys too long. But this is just some pretty basic stuff, pretty cheap. But it operates really well in my Ruger LCP Max with a Viridian TL light on it. That's redundant. TL, the L stands for light. We're gonna have a little fun with this real quick. It's a really good, carry system. I really like it a lot. It's simple just to stick right on the belt. I do prefer appendix carry. And by the way, right now, I think it was about 7 yards, so, pretty average shooting distance for a 380. But I've just been out here shooting a bunch, just trying to get the feel of it. I really like it a lot. I've actually been carrying it for, I don't know, a couple of months, pretty much ever since I got it. So it hasn't really given me too many issues yet. It still works just fine. So let's just do some shooting real quick. Oh, one thing with this Ruger LCP Max. Sometimes the round doesn't go in the battery. But as you can see, that this really cheap Gecko 380 operates really well in this gun. The problem with going in the battery is not just with the Ruger LCP, or sorry, not just with this Gecko, but I've been having this issue with a couple of other kinds of rounds as well. So I know it's the gun. Mostly I think it's when I limp wrist it, because whenever I hold the gun really solid, it doesn't seem to have that problem. But if I limp wrist it, or like you saw when I was charging it, I think I might have been charging it a little too softly. So let's go and reload this real quick and see if I can get some better reliability out of it. So bear with me for a sec. So as you just saw, there was a little problem going in the battery. That's really just when I'm limp wristing the gun. I really don't feel like that it happens that much, because most of the time I do have a very solid purchase on the gun. But it happens with, I know it's not just this cheaper Gecko that I was using, because it's also happened with this Norma, which is pretty good quality stuff, and then as well as this very high quality defensive ammo, which, by the way, the MHP stands for monolithic hollow point. This round has very good expansion and is going 1,280 feet per second, so it's going very fast as well. So really good expansion and really good penetration. So I just want to show you guys too really quick. It doesn't really look like I'm carrying a gun. If you're really looking for it, you can maybe see a little bit of a point right here. But all in all, I think if you weren't looking for a gun, you wouldn't really think I'm carrying one. And that's one thing that I really like about the holster that this Viridian tack light came with, as well as the Ruger LCP Max. It gives you like a really good amount of firepower, 10 rounds of 380, in something that is not really that printable. So now I did wear this shirt on purpose. I really like this shirt, but it's a little small on me, so I don't really wear it too much. But as you can see, even with a small shirt, it doesn't really print too much. I have a sort of a general misunderstanding of how calories work. You guys are looking for it, so you're like, oh yeah, it's right there, right where that little tiny point is. But if I was walking down the street or walking through a grocery store, I doubt anybody would even raise an eyebrow at this. So I do really like it a lot so far. And let's just do some more shooting. Hopefully no limp wristing there. It actually is pretty comfortable. It's kind of like this right here. And if you're walking around the neighborhood, walking around the house or whatever, you could just do it like this, and it's not going to really rub up against your belly if you got a glorious muffin top like I do. But it is really comfortable. I haven't had really any issues with getting in and out of my car, getting out of your car with the Ruger LCP Max jammed down in your waist with the Viridian TL holster. It's not so bad. And getting back in your car, piece of cake. Or just general motions that one may do on a daily basis, like for example, maybe some squats. I can't touch my toes anyways, but if you just kind of pull up a little bit right here, you can totally bend over. Maybe do some lunges. But anyways, let's just do some shooting, because I think that's what y'all really want to see. Nobody wants to see me do lunges. So before I chamber this, I will say a lot of people will carry a gun with a round in the chamber. I know, I'm gonna make some enemies here. I don't tend to do that. If you wanna do it, totally cool, totally fine, I don't mind. But I do have a weird feeling about a loaded round in the chamber that is pointed directly at my junk. So I tend not to carry with a round in the chamber. And then, you know, my basic training is just whenever I draw, just to immediately rack the slide. So you don't have to always do some quick draws or anything like that. We can just kind of take it slow, see what happens. And when you take it slow, you miss. Look at that. Oh man, I shouldn't be missing. You guys got a tiny head though. Alright, we're gonna go for the neck. Boom. One more shot. Reholstering is no big deal either. This holster is pretty easy to take in and out of your waist. You just pull it out like that. It's got a little clip, so you know, you're not inadvertently going to remove the holster when drawing the weapon, but it is still very easy to remove the holster when you're not fumbling around with it, but and then to put the holster back in. It's just as simple as that as well. So all in all, I like it a lot. It's a very low print and you know, very easy to access. So overall, a big win in my book. I'm kind of new to the conceal carry world. I actually really don't conceal and carry, or have a lot of history of conceal and carry. I'm starting to do it a lot more now, and this is definitely the weapon system that I go with. Not this, but this. I already gave you a pretty quick rundown of the features of the Reactor TL. Lumens, I totally forgot. I'll go and notate that. But the lumens are not that bright. It's bright enough, and actually, I think it's a good thing because so it's going to be up close and personal. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be really terrible. But the idea of having a low lumen light on your gun is a lot better than having a very high lumen light on your gun, because whenever you turn that thing on, you might be blinding the attacker, but you're also going to be possibly blinding yourself, especially if you're indoors and you hit this light up against a you know, white drywall or something like that. It's gonna shoot right back into your face and make it very difficult to see. But having this low lumen light definitely works for me. So let's go ahead and do a close little, a quick little close-up, I meant to say. So you can see the button right there. The button I wish was actually on the other side, because whenever you're holding it, it'd be nice to be able to turn the gun on, or not turn the gun on, but turn the light on with your index finger. Instead, you have to reach over here with your thumb, if you're right-handed, with your left thumb. I mean, if you're left-handed, that would actually be perfect. But for most of us, you know, we're right-handed. So anyways, I just thought that was a little strange how they do that. So let's go ahead and talk about the batteries real quick, because that brings me to another firearm that I want to show you guys in a second. But these are, I guess they're kind of proprietary. I'm not exactly sure if it's like two smaller ones jammed together, but I think it takes one. There is one missing, because this is not my first Viridian product that I've owned. I had, for my first conceal and carry gun, the wretched, the most hated gun on the market, the Taurus Curve. Boo! Boo! No, I actually love this thing. I'm not gonna lie. People love to hate it, but I actually really do love it. But as you can see, it's about the same size as the Ruger. See if I can get the balance on there. So You know, with the Viridian light, it's almost exactly the same size. But anyways, this right here you unscrew and then you pop your battery in there. So I had this one for a while. Obviously, it wasn't super practical. I actually really do like carrying it. It serves a very specific purpose. It's a very up close and personal, even more up close and personal than this one, because this one actually has decent sights. This one has no sights, so you are it's basically like a belly gun, more or less. But one of the cool things about this one is that it also came with a laser. However, even with this light up above, you can see that this is not a very bright light. The laser is actually pretty good, but the light was very dim, and it was even more dim than this one right here. But it still served its purpose because, again, it was a very up close and personal gun. So, having even that much light right there in a very dark, confined space would be perfectly adequate. As far as holsters go, that Taurus curve right there actually came with a holster. It was a very gimmicky holster. It didn't really work most of the time. It only covered up the trigger guard, and you're basically supposed to like rip it away from the trigger guard while I think it was tethered to it somehow. Anyways, or no, you're supposed to tether the holster to your belt loop, and then you rip the gun away, and it does actuate the light. So that was one cool thing about it, just like how this holster actuates this light. But for obvious reasons, I decided to upgrade, and I got rid of my Taurus curve. Or didn't get rid of it, it's right here, but I stopped carrying it. It just sits in the safe, and she's a pretty little safe queen. Look at her. One day this is going to be very collectible, I think. These are like one of those guns that everybody just hated and nobody bought, so they discontinued them, and then there's only a few circulating out there, and it's going to be worth a bunch of money. Maybe. Well, the sun's starting to go down. I went ahead and threw this sweatshirt on because it's actually getting a little chilly out here. But I just wanted to also show you guys that with something like a sweatshirt, or just a little bit more clothing than a simple t-shirt, you can completely conceal the firearm. There is no printing whatsoever, at least that I can tell. I don't know if you guys can tell. Of course, you guys know that I'm carrying a gun. It's right here. But if you saw me in public like this, and I was just walking up to you, walking past you, I don't think you would ever have the slightest idea that I was carrying a firearm on me. So, anyways, I've got a marker right here at 25 yards. There's another marker right there at 15 yards, and then I have another marker at 7 yards. So this Viridian TL, go and turn it on. It has a very small flashlight, very small. It's fine for lighting up a room, but I wanted to see how well it would do outside and what kind of distance I can get out of it. Like I said, inside of a house, I don't think I'd have any problem lighting up my entire living room if I had to. But once you go beyond, say, 7 yards, that might not be the case. So we're going to start at 7 yards. If I can still see the target, work our way back to 15, get a couple shots off. If I can hit with my shots, I'm going to move it back to 25 yards, which is right here. And there's the target. So let's just go ahead and wait for the sun to go down. So just before I completely lose daylight here, I want to take some shots at 25 yards just to see if I can actually hit with this Ruger LCP Max. Because if I can't hit with daylight, I'm definitely not going to hit with no daylight. So let me give it some shots real quick. So I missed, I got the first shot, missed like the next 3, but I think I got 6 or so out of the 10. So yeah, let's go ahead and wait for darkness and see just how far this flashlight goes. Hello, did I scare you? It's pitch black out here, and I've got a target. Let me turn this up a bit. Right over there. It's 25 yards away. You should be able to see it, but this is with my Olight Baton 3. So let me go and turn this off and pull out the Ruger LCP Max with the Viridian TL tack light, and we're gonna start at 7 yards and then work our way back to 15, then back to 25. See what kind of distance we can get out of this flashlight. So I'm gonna go ahead and scoot up to 7 yards. Okay, can you see me? I'm back at 7 yards, or up at 7 yards. And I'm gonna have no problem seeing the target from here. No problem whatsoever. Scoot it back to 15. Still no problem. Now I'm walking it back to 25. Here's my marker right here. And I'm not sure if you guys are going to be able to see, but I can definitely still see the target. The question is, can I hit the target? Last shot. Missed the last shot. But I made 2 out of 4 at 25 yards. So that's pretty good. Obviously I can still see the target. Even though it's such a small little light, you can still see just fine at 25 yards. I bet I could push this back way further, but it's dark. It's kind of cold out here. I want to get home, so I'm going to wrap it up right there. So there you go. I probably could have pushed it back a little bit further, but I feel like that would have pushed the capabilities of not only the light, but the gun itself. People don't typically shoot their 380s past 15 yards, let alone 25. Plus, one thing that's not very obvious, I think, on camera, and something you don't really realize too until you're actually shooting at night, but when you have a light that is shining towards all of this, you know, like smoke that you're creating at the muzzle, it really makes it difficult to have follow-up shots. So whenever you shoot, you gotta usually wait a little bit for the smoke to clear before you can really see and take some accurate follow-up shots. Of course, if you're just doing a mag dump, you just do a mag dump. But if you're trying to be accurate, I'd say that you gotta, you know, give it some time in between shots and really take your time. But this tritium front sight right here, I'll try and get a close up for you guys, coupled with the Viridian Reactor TL, makes for a really great low light sighting system.